Welcome back to STEMLens. So in the last video we talked about classification of living organisms. So we talked about taxonomy, we talked about the hierarchy of living things to be KPC of GS, that is kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species. We also talked about the binomial nomenclature invented by Sir Carl Linnaeus in the 18th century, which involves naming organisms according to their generic and specific name. Alright, to get their binomial nomenclature, that's their scientific name. And in today's video we shall be talking about the major groups of living organisms, whereby living organisms were divided into two kingdoms. Now this system of classification is the old system. We have a new system. So this is actually the old system of classification, whereby all living organisms were being placed into two distinct groups, that's kingdoms, Plantae and Animalia. So now let us look at it. We have major groups of living things. Living things are divided into two kingdoms, the Plantae and Animalia, according to the old system of classification of Carl Linnaeus, still being in use by some people. So we have the plants, we have the Animalia. So actually a lot did not fit in. So there was the need to come up with a new system of classification. But this is just so that we can be aware that there is a classification as this. That's why we are treating this system of classification. So we have number one, classification of plants. Classification of plants may be based on the following criteria. We have one, botanical classification. We have agricultural classification, or according to economic use, or classification of crops according to economic uses. We have life cycle, we have tillage or cultivation practices, and lastly we have number of kingdoms. Now we'll take them one by one. For a start, we have botanical classification. Now the plant kingdom is divided into 5 groups. These are Schizophyta, Talophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta and Spermatophyta. And we have, for a mnemonic, we have STBPS. STB, that's the first initial of these groups. STBPS is as easy as to remember. Alright, so we have Schizophyta, Talophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta and Spermatophyta. Now, actually in the new system of classification, the Schizophyta was given its own kingdom, that's kingdom Monera. Even fungi was given its own kingdom. Fungi is an example, they put it there under Talophyta. It was given its own kingdom, alright. So now let us look at it, let us dive into it. Number one, we have Schizophyta, an example is bacteria. They are microscopic and non-cellular organisms. That's number one. That they can be seen with a microscope. They barely can be seen with the naked eye. Alright. Number two, no organized nucleus. They are therefore prokaryotic cells. Now we have prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are those that lack a membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotic are those that possess membrane-bound organelles. So in the case of Schizophyta, for example, bacteria, their nucleus does not have a nuclear membrane. Right? Their nucleus is being localized in the cytoplasm. Now we have number 3, the cell wall does not contain cellulose. It is made up of protein and fatty materials. Normally we expect the cell wall of plants to be, to contain cellulose. But in the case of, for example, like bacteria, we may see peptidoglycan, right? Protein and fatty materials in the cell wall. We have they reproduce asexually by binary fission. Yes, they reproduce asexually by binary fission, and that's why most times you see that they reproduce very fast. Very fast, alright. Bacteria exist in various shapes. For example, the cocci are rounded or spherical, the bacilli are rod-shaped, spirilla are spirally twisted, while the vibrios are comma shaped. Right, so we have some diagrammatic illustration. We have the cocci to be rounded or spherical, we have the vibrio to be comma shaped, we have the bacilli to be rod shaped, we have the spirilla to be spirally shaped. Alright, so that's that about the Schizophyta. When we talk about the new system, we'll dive deeper into Schizophyta and bacteria under the kingdom Monera. Number 2, we have Talophyta, an example which we have algae. Now Talophyta, just as the name, just as it sounds, those organisms that that possess thallus and filaments. Characteristics feature number 1, we have they are simple plants without roots, stem and leaves. All algae have chlorophyll. Some have blue, yellow, brown or red pigment which marks the chlorophyll. right? Majority are non-cellular, while few are multicellular. Some such as seaweeds are large. Now where you're seeing this non-cellular, not like they don't have cell, right? It should have been unicellular, right? They are mainly aquatic, while okay, with a few on damp soil and shady places. Alright, most of them are aquatic, they need water because in their cases whereby they don't have roots, stem, leaves, the main mode of exchange of materials to be by what? Diffusion. Alright, so they need water for growth, surely. So since they don't have root to take up water, they surely should have a large surface to area, a large surface to volume ratio that can enhance their diffusion rate. Okay, examples: we have Spirogyra, we have Anabena, we have Sargassum, we have Clostridium, we have some other. Okay, these ones are not there. Now we have fungi. Characteristics feature, we have they are non-green plants, exactly why they are being taken out of the plant kingdom into and given their own kingdom, that's in the new system of classification. Number 2, they are simple multicellular plants. Yes, their body is not differentiated into root, stem and leaves. The vegetative body hyphae is collectively known as mycelium. Reproduction is by means of spores. The cell wall is composed of cellulose and chitin. Carbohydrates are stored in form of glycogen as in animals. They are either saprophytic or parasitic. Alright, so there are a lot of features here, even if you want to start to look at them one by one, that distinguish them from other plants, other phylums under this kingdom, Plantae. Alright, so for sure they had to be given their own kingdom. Now they are not green plants. I said that they are not green plants. They are simple multicellular plants. Reproduction is by means of spores, explosive mechanism and all that. The cell wall is composed of cellulose and chitin. Carbohydrates are stored in form of glycogen as in animals. Normally carbohydrates should be stored in form of starch in plants. Glycogen is for animals. Alright, so this and other features they possess actually made them to be given their own kingdom. Right, number 3, we have Bryophyta. Examples: we have mosses and liverworts. Now they are non-vascular multicellular organisms. Now when you talk about non-vascular multicellular organisms, you're talking about organisms that don't possess vascular tissues. Alright, vascular tissues, they aid in the movement of materials. For example, the xylem phloem tissues. Alright, they have chlorophyll as the only photosynthetic pigment. Yes, chlorophyll is the only photosynthetic pigment. Then we have carotenoid that could, although different colors, you understand, but they just form a shade over the chlorophyll pigment. But in the case of mosses and liverwort, they have just chlorophyll. They are terrestrial but live in moist environment. That's, they stay on land but mostly on moist environment. The body is differentiated into stem-like and leaf-like structures. They lack true roots, stem and leaves. They lack vascular tissues and therefore unable to transport food and material around the body. The leaves of some are spirally arranged on the stem. Asexual reproduction is by spores, while sexual reproduction is by gametes. There's something you're going to get here. Water is needed in sexual reproduction, hence they are regarded as the amphibians of the plant kingdom. They show alternation of generations. Now, if you are reading for JAMB, they show alternation of generations. That's a point of question mostly. You'll see it. Bryophyta, they show alternation of gens. They are regarded as the amphibians because they require both land and water. They actually are terrestrial, can be seen on land, right? But they also require water for reproduction. So they are the amphibians of the plant kingdom. They show alternation of generations. Some are thylakoid in form, e.g. the liverwort. Examples are Machantia species liverwort, Phonaria hygrometrica, a moss. Alright, so these are the drawings here. We have liverwort and mosses. Now we have Pteridophyta. Example, we have the ferns as in ferns. Alright, so characteristic feature, we have number 1, the body is differentiated into true root, stem and leaves with well developed vascular bundles comprising xylem and phloem. The young leaves are coiled. Now what I want you to gain from these groups we've been talking about is that you can see the order of increasing complexity. Like the first one we talked about normal just is diffusion. The other one they have stem, like they started developing the characteristics, right? And now these ones now they have roots, they have developed them vascular bundles. All right, you can see that there's an increasing order of complexity. Okay, so number 2, the stem is a rhizome. Reproduction is by means of spores. Asexual reproduction consists of sori, while the sexual reproductive organ is a heart-shaped prothallus. Water is needed for sexual reproduction. They are mainly terrestrial with a few aquatic members. Examples are Diopteris, Cyclosaurus. We have a lot of them. Just go through that. We have, okay, let me just call it out. We have Platycerium. We have Phematodes. Okay, Phematodes are terrestrial, while Nephrolepis, Salvina oblongata, and Azola are aquatic members, right? So when we are talking about the new system of classification, whereby we'll be treating each and every one of them individually, we'll talk more about it. For the angle, okay, we have spermatophyta to be the last one. That's based on botanical classification. Based on botanical classification. Now we have spermatophyta is divided into gymnosperms and angiosperms. Now spermatophyta is considered to be the most advanced. Alright, the most advanced contains the most advanced plant species, alright, and every other thing. Gymnosperms are large plants with well-developed vascular bundles with true roots, stem, and leaves. The leaves are green in color, small, scaly, and needle-like. They have cones where naked seeds are formed because there is no ovary. Fruit is not formed. They are terrestrial in habitat. Examples are whistling pine, cycas, we have conifers. Alright, so now gymnosperms is a subphylum under spermatophyta. Now gymnosperms they have well-developed tissue. As I said, the spermatophyta itself contains the most advanced plants. Alright, so one distinct feature is that they have no ovary, and you know that when it comes to fruit formation, the fruit is being formed from the ovary, while the seed are formed from the ovules. Alright, so since they have no ovary, fruits are not formed. Now, since no fruit is formed, they have ovules actually. So these ovules are just naked. You know, the ovary, the fruit houses the seed. So since there is no ovary, fruit is not formed, they just have naked seeds out there. Right. So giving examples, we have cycas, we have conifers. Angiosperms, the second side of spermatophyta. The first side is gymnosperms. The first side is gymnosperms. The second side, angiosperms. Now these are flowering plants. They possess true flowers for sexual reproduction. They have well-developed true roots, stem, and leaves. Well-developed vascular bundles are present. Seed and fruits are produced after fertilization. Seeds are enclosed in an ovary. So now if you remember, gymnosperms don't have an ovary, so the seeds are not enclosed in any kind of coverage. That's why they have naked seeds. Now they are terrestrial but few are aquatic. Examples are oil palm tree, goatweed, mango tree, and maize. Alright, so the angiosperm actually is still further divided, but we'll talk about it when we're talking about cotyledon. Alright, so now based on agricultural classification, you know, I mentioned that it can be that there are some criteria in classifying plants. We have botanical classification, I mentioned it. We have tillage or cultivation. We have here in our front agricultural classification. We also have number of cotyledons. Right, so for agricultural classification, we are discussing and classifying plants based on their economic uses. Right, so in this case, crops are classified according to the main food substances existing in them, or according to the use to which the crop is put. These are legumes. Alright, so legumes, these crops have nodules or swellings in their roots. They are capable of converting atmospheric nitrogen to nitrate, which they absorb. These crops are very rich in protein. Examples are cowpeas, soya beans, groundnuts, pigeon pea, and mucuna. Alright, so you are wondering why groundnut is there, because there is also a classification which is nuts. Groundnut should be under nuts. But let me just tell you, let me shock you. Groundnut is not a nut. As you can see in this textbook, groundnut is a what? Legume. Alright, number 2, we have cereals. These are grain crops grown mainly for their seed, which are very rich in carbohydrates. So when you're talking about legumes are rich in protein. Now cereals, they are rich in carbohydrates. Examples are maize, rice, guinea corn. Alright, so let's move. They made a mistake in the number. So millet, wheat, barley, and oats. So number 3, we have roots and tubers. These crops store food in their root or stem in form of tubers. Sorry. These crops store food in their root or stem in form of tubers. They are very rich in carbohydrates, mostly starch. Alright. They form the staple food of many people in Nigeria, especially in the southern region, where we have cassava, we have yam, sweet potato, Irish potato, and carrots. Number 4, we have vegetables. These are crops whose leaves and fruit are used as vegetables in food. The crops are rich in vitamins and minerals. Example are tomato, onion, fluted pumpkin, okra. We have lettuce, cabbage. We have grain, the amaranthus species. Alright, so we have fruit crops. These are crops grown for their fruits and supply vitamins, minerals, sugars. Examples include orange, mango, guava, pineapple, pawpaw, banana, cashew. You know the rest. We have beverage crops. These are grown for use as beverage drinks or a sort of refreshment. They supply minerals to the body. Examples of beverage crops are cocoa, coffee, and tea. Number 7, we have oil crops. The seed or fruit of these oil crops are rich in oil and fat. Such crops include oil palm, groundnut, cotton, and coconut. Alright, so we can get coconut oil, we can get palm oil, we can get groundnut oil from the trees, the seed itself. Alright, so that's why they are being classified into oil crops. So you have latex crops. These crops produce milky fluid called latex. This latex is used for various industrial purposes, such as making of tires, tubes, and plates. A good example of latex crop is rubber. We also have fiber crops. Number 9. These supply ropes and thread for textile industry. The crops include cotton and jute. Alright, so cotton is most popular. It's a fiber crop, just making textiles. Your clothes. We have cottons, even our singlets. Alright, so we have spice crops. These are crops which are used in flavoring foods. Examples include ginger, onion, pepper, thyme. The Indians should know more about spice crops. Just kidding. Number 11, we have stimulants. These are crops that produce substances used as stimulants for medical purposes. Examples are cocaine plant, cola, lime, Indian hemp, marijuana, and neem plant. Just that they are being overused in today's world. They are being overused and illegally used. They are being abused, in short. We also have forage crops. These are crops grown for feeding farm animals. They are mainly grasses. They include guinea grass, elephant grass, gamba. Now, most times you will observe that forage crops are being grown alongside legumes, because if you go back, you will see that legumes are good in converting atmospheric nitrogen. Alright, so they can, when planted together, they help this forage, they help these grasses to grow faster, and when animals feed on them, it makes the forage crops more viable for the animals and it gives them more nutrients. Right, lastly, we have nuts. These are crops whose fruit consists of a hard shell that encloses fleshy parts which are edible. They include coconut, cashew, oil palm. From the oil palm, we have that palm kernel. Alright, so now groundnut, you can say that groundnut is not here. Nuts are crops whose fruit consists of hard shells that enclose fleshy parts. Now look at groundnut. Groundnut is not a hard shell that encloses any fleshy part. Alright, so that's why it's not being classified as a nut. It is a what? Legume. Now, according to life cycle, we have annual, biennial, and perennial crops. Annual crops, these are crops which complete their life cycle in 1 year. We have maize, we have yam, groundnuts, rice, beans, millet. We have biennial, that's 2 years. Bi is 2 years. Pere, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, more. That's more. Right. So for the biennial crops, the first year is for growth and storage of food, while the second year is for reproduction, maturity, and death or harvest. Examples are pineapple, cocoyam, cassava, plantain, and sugar beets. For the perennial crops, we have cocoa, rubber, mango, oil palm, and orange. We have some other examples. Now, according to tillage or cultivation practices, you can classify crops into arable and non-arable crops. Now, there are some crops that you want to plant. You have to till the ground. You have to use your energy. But there are some that you would want to plant. You will just dig your hole, clear 1 or 2 meters away from that point and plant what you want to plant. Plus, there are some that you plant in group and you have to till the ground, right? So that's what we are looking at here. For the arable crops, these are crops that we have to till the ground first. You have to till the ground before planting. Examples are maize, guinea corn, yam, and rice. While non-arable crops, they are crops whose cultivation does not require total tillage of the land before propagation. Only the spots where the crops are to be established are open. The crops in this group include oil palm, cashew, rubber, and cocoa. Now, based on the number of cotyledons, this is the last criteria. Based on the number of cotyledons, we have cotyledons are seed leaves. Crops can be classified into monocotyledonous and dicotyledonous. So, monocotyledons are crops that have one seed leaf or one cotyledon. Examples of monocots are maize, oil palm, guinea corn. Dicotyledons are those crops that have 2 cotyledon or seed leaves. Examples are groundnut, melon, soybean, orange, and mango. So now you would just want to observe that most monocots include cereals, dicots include legumes. That's just what you could use in case you are being stranded with giving out examples of monocot and dicots. So they have differences. They have a lot of differences that you can use to differentiate between monocots and dicots. For example, monocots have parallel venation, while dicots have net. They have net-like venation. Their venation is like a network. When you talk about network, is branching and branching at different locations, right? So there are different, monocots, they possess 1 seed leaf. Dicots possess 2 seed leaf. There is secondary thickening in dicots due to the presence of cambium. Monocots lacks that. Alright. So when we talk about that in the new system of classification, we'll dive deeper. For the classification of animals, we have the kingdom Animalia is divided into 2 subkingdoms, namely Invertebrata and Vertebrata. Invertebrata are animals without backbones, and Vertebrata are animals with backbones. Now, the subphylum Invertebrates is made up of the following phyla. We have Protozoa, Coelenterata, Platyhelminths, Nematoda, Annelida, Mollusca, Echinodermata, and Arthropoda. Wow. Alright, for number 1, we have Protozoa. They are one-celled microscopic animals or colony of one-celled animals. They are either free-living or parasitic organisms. So for the free-living, we have examples. We have Paramecium, we have Amoeba. For the parasitic, we have the most common one being Plasmodium, which is being transmitted by the mosquito. That's the Anopheles mosquito, female Anopheles mosquito. Now they are either aquatic or endoparasitic in habitat. Some of them are aquatic in their youth stage, then the adult stage, they are endoparasitic. Alright. So we have examples here. We have Amoeba, we have Paramecium, Volvox, and Trypanosome. The second one, we have Coelenterata. So they are multicellular organisms. They have 2 distinct body layers. That's they are diploblastic. Thus, they consist of 2 distinct body layers, which are the ectoderm and the endoderm. Ecto, that's outer. When you're now in not just even in the line of science, we have some we've specialized, but like in the line of science, there are some prefix and suffixes you should be very, very familiar with that will help you a lot, especially if you are someone who wants to study medicine. It is going to help you a lot because there are new terms are being brought out every day. You can break this term, you can separate the root words, you can separate the prefix, the suffixes. You'll be able to derive the meaning of that term. Alright, so now ectoderm, we have them. When you hear them, when you hear derma, talking about the skin, the layer. When you hear ecto, you're talking about outside. When you hear endo, you're talking about inside. So when you hear ectoderm, you should know that okay, they're talking about the outer layer. When you hear endoderm, they're talking about the inner layer. Now they are separated by a featureless middle layer called mesogloe. They have only one body cavity called the enteron. Now when we talk about body cavity, that's they have only one location, one opening that houses all the organs. Only one opening. That's only one cavity housing all the organs called the what? Enteron. There is only one opening called the mouth to the outside world, no anus. The mouth is surrounded with tentacles, possession of stinging cells called nematocysts for defense. They have specialized cells such as glandular, nerve, sensory, and absorptive cells. Asexual reproduction is by budding. Examples we have Hydra, Obelia, sea anemone, jellyfish, coral, and Physalia are examples. Now we have the platyhelminths. Characteristic features: number 1, they are soft, flat, unsegmented body. They are bilaterally symmetrical. Now when we talk about symmetry, we all did symmetry in our should be primary schools. Now dividing along plane. Now when something is bilaterally symmetrical, that can be divided in a specific place to give two equal halves, like the two halves, the two divisions. That's when it has been cut along a plane. The two halves are the same. That's they are symmetrical. The line that divides them is the line of symmetry. They could be bilaterally symmetrical, they could be radially symmetrical. That's in any way they are being cut, the both sides are equal, they are the same, they are symmetrical. Now they have no body cavity, acoelomate. Now those that have body cavity are actually called column, right? Colomates. Those without, when you hear as I said, prefix and suffix, when you hear you know that's the opposite of the word following it. The a, that's the a there is a word prefix for no. So we have no body cavity. When you see coelomate, they have body cavities. Then when you see acoelomate, that's no body cavity. They possess alimentary canal with highly branched diverticular, no anus. Some are free living, examples planaria, while others are parasitic, e.g. tapeworm and flukes. Okay, now we have nematoda. For example, the roundworms. Number 1, they have soft, cylindrical, and slender bodies, pointed at both ends. Body is not segmented. They have alimentary canal with both mouth and anus. They are bilaterally symmetrical. They have first body cavity. Okay, that's pseudocoelomates. Now, for example, we have pseudopodia in amoeba. When you hear the word pseudo means false. That's pseudo. It means false. Alright, I'll still drop a video on most commonly, used prefixes and suffixes in science textbooks, probably specific on biological terms. Alright, they are mostly parasitic, but few are free living. Examples are Ascaris, that's the roundworm. We have hookworm, threadworm, guinea worm, and vinegar eel as free living. Now we have Annelida. Alright, so in annelids, the body is segmented, with each segment separated from other by septa. The separation, that's that line that joins a segment to another segment, is called what? Septa. The body is cylindrical in shape. They have alimentary canal with mouth and anus. They possess true body cavity with a distinct head. The appendages are not jointed. Examples are earthworms, tubeworms, and leeches. Now we have Echinodermata. Now they possess tough, spiny, and calcareous exoskeleton. They are radially symmetrical in adults but bilaterally symmetrical in larvae. Alright, so radially symmetrical, any way you call them, if you call them in any plane, both sides of the plane we have the same the same volume, shape, everything will be the same. Alright, the head is not usually distinct. Most of them are star shaped. Example, we have starfish, we have Bristol star. They are all marine organisms. We also have sea urchin, sea cucumber, sea lily. Now arthropoda, I think this is the last one under the subkingdom. This is the last one under the subkingdom invertebrata. Then we talk about vertebrata, and that will be the end. Alright, so their bodies are covered with hard exoskeleton of chitin. Their appendages are jointed. Often the bodies are divided into three regions: head, thorax, and abdomen. HTA, head, thorax, and abdomen. In some, the head and thorax are fused together to form a cephalothorax, as in crustaceans and arachnids. Arachnids. So now, as I said earlier, I will still keep on saying there is a need for you to be able to identify prefixes and suffixes. For example, when you hear the word cephalothorax, cephalo means what? Head. Cephalo means head. So when you hear the word cephalothorax, that's head fused with what? Thorax, right? So they have bilateral symmetry. Examples are insects such as mosquito, cockroach, crustacean, diplopods, chilopods, and arachnids. That's arachnida. Okay, we have examples. We have mosquito, crab, spider, tick, centipede, millipede, prawn, cockroach. Okay, that's all. Now talking about vertebrata, that's vertebrates, those with backbones. We have 5 classes in this phylum. Number 1, we have pixies, we have amphibians, we have reptilia, we have apes, that's birds, and we have mammalia. Now number 1, fishes, they are all aquatic. They possess gills for respiration throughout life. They have one looped circulation, that is, blood is pumped from the heart to the gills, where oxygenated blood is passed to the rest of the body and returns to the heart. Alright, they are not like animals. They are not like they are not like animals. They are not like mammalia. For example, mammalia have double circulation, where we have the pulmonary and the systemic circulation. These ones, they just have one looped circulation. Alright, they possess fins for locomotion. Their bodies are streamlined in shape. They are cold-blooded, as they are poikilothermic. Their fertilization is external. Most of them have scales, while others are scaleless. Now when you say fertilization is external, that is, the female will actually just lay her eggs, and the man will fertilize them outside the body of the female. For example, like a man, when after they have sex, fertilization will occur. Fertilization will occur in the woman, right, before there is a viable conception. But for example, in fishes, even in amphibians, some amphibians like toads, where they display amplexus as a character, there you will see that fertilization is external, whereby the female will just lay her eggs, the man will release the sperms, and those that are being fertilized will become viable. Now the class Pixies is divided into 2 subclasses, namely chondrichites and osteichites. Now this is just to say cartilaginous and bony fishes. Cartilaginous and bony fishes. Now the chondrichites are the cartilaginous, The chondrichites are the cartilaginous. Number 1, the skeleton is made of cartilage only. Mouth is inferior, that is, ventrally. Fishes fins are fleshy. Each gill has its own opening. Generally, the upper lobe of the caudal tail is longer, possess placoid scales, that is, scales are tooth-like in structure. And then for the bony fish, which is the osteichite, we have skeleton is bony, mouth is either placed anteriorly, terminally, ventrally. Mouth is protrusible and retractable. That is, mouth can be pushed forward and withdrawn. All gills are covered with a bony plate. Fins are supported by bony or soft rays. Scales when present are either cycloid, that is, smoothed and round, or cycloid, that is, exposed posterior exposed posterior, right? So we have examples, we have flatfish. Oh, we have a lot. Starting from the beginning, we have African river pike. Okay, their binomial nomenclature, their scientific name was also given that their zoological name, Herpcetus adoe. Oh, we have spinal shark, we have a lot of them, we have tilapia, we have catfish, Clarius garimpinus. Oh my god. Imagine using Clarius garimpinus to cook your soup. Wow. Alright, moving to amphibia. They possess moist, soft, and scaleless skin. They are cold-blooded. The adults possess spear-limbed with webbed toes. The larval stage is aquatic, while the adult stage is either aquatic or terrestrial. Tadpole larva is vegetarian, while adult is usually carnivorous. The heart is two-chambered in larval stage and three-chambered in adult stage. Now, fishes have two chambers. Their heart have two chambers, so blood just goes once. Amphibians have two when they're young. When they grow up, they have three. Reptilia, so like it gets to mammalia where they have four, and there is double circulation. Right, fertilization is external. I said this earlier. For example, toads, they display a behavior called amplexus. Breathing is by gills in the larval stage and by long skin and mouth in the adult stage. Examples are toad, frogs, and newts. Alright, next we have reptilia. They possess dry and scaly skin. Most possess four limbs which end in claws, while others have no limbs. For example, snake. Dentition is homodont, that they have the same type of teeth throughout. They are cold-blooded. Breathing is by lungs. Fertilization is internal with laying of soft and leathery shelled eggs. Most members are oviparous, while a few retain their eggs in their body until hatching ovoviviparous. Now, just associate it that since egg is round, they are oviparous. Round, O. The egg is as round as O. We have oviparous, we have viviparous, we have ovoviviparous. Now, just associate that oviparous, it starts with an O. That O means what? Egg. That's they lay eggs. Alright. Viviparous is the opposite. That means they don't lay eggs, they are born alive. Right? Why ovoviviparous is that they hatch and are being born as a young one, straight up. Now they are mostly terrestrial, but few such as turtles and crocodile are aquatic. Examples are lizard, snake, crocodile, tortoise, and chameleon. The heart is three-chambered except crocodile with four-chambered heart. So we have examples: lizard, snake, tortoise, chameleon, and crocodile. Alright, to the end we have apes. The body is covered with feathers except the legs and feet, which are covered with scales. You can also see that there's actually an increasing order of complexity. That's even when you talk about evolution, it is believed that just as we have been discussing, that's how evolution occurred, from fishes to amphibians to reptiles to apes to mammals. Alright, so now still on apes, their forelimbs are modified as wings. They only have hind limbs. Alright, their mouth is modified into honey, toothless, beak, or bill. Their bones are porous, light, and in some cases filled with air. Body supported by two hind limbs, bipedal stance. They are warm-blooded, that is homoitemic. That's in this case now, homeostasis is for sure, whereby their internal system is being regulated. They are very active animals. Breathing is by lungs. They lay hard-shelled eggs. That's their oviparous. I said eggs. O, take the O as it looks as an egg. It means they lay eggs. Alright. Fertilization is internal. They are mostly terrestrial. Heart is four-chambered. Examples are domestic fowl, duck, eagle, pigeon. We also have vulture, parrot, hen. Alright. Now lastly we have mammalia. Now this mammalia is me, this mammalia is you, and some other animals. All right, so they possess hair. However, some mammals such as whales have no hair, while pangolins have scales instead of hair. They possess mammary glands. The mother's mammary glands secrete milk used in flourishing the young after birth. Most most animals in this kingdom, in this class mammalia, they take milk secreted by mammary glands. This milk actually nourishes them by far. They possess external ears. All animals have 3 tiny bones in their ears. That's all mammals have 3 tiny bones in their ears. That's the has. H-A-S, has. H-A-S, or you can say sim. S-I-M. You can either say H-A-S or S-I-M, has, sim. So we have for H-A-M, for H-A-S, that's has, we have hammer, anvil, and stapes. If you are using sim, we have stirrup, incus, and malleus. Alright. So they are viviparous. Young are nourished during development in the mother's uterus and born at an advanced stage of development. However, the monotremes lay eggs which hatch into young, nourished by milk secreted by mammary glands of the mother. Breathing is by lungs throughout life. They have diaphragm, separating the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. Mammalian heart is 4-chambered, only left aortic arch. Now that ensures double circulation, pulmonary and system circulation. We'll talk about that later on. They possess 4 limbs for locomotion. They are warm-blooded, hence they are very active animals. Examples: we have duck-billed platypus, we have kangaroo, dog, cat, pangolin, elephant, giraffe, lion, horse, baboon, porcupine, and man. Most species possess 7 cervical, that's bones, that's the neck. Even for example, rats and human being, rats and man, they have 7 cervical bones. They possess 2 pairs of limbs, usually for locomotion. The cerebrum and the cerebellum of the brain are the highest developed than any other animal. So we have examples here. We have man, we have elephants, we also have their zoological name. For cats, we have Felis domesticus. For elephants, we have Losodonta africana. For baboon, we have Papio Anubis. We have a lot of them. Gorilla for gorilla. We have Equus Bocelli for zebra. We have Canis familiaris for dog. We have Panthera leo for lion. For rat, we have Ratus. This one I'm seeing cane rat here, where we have Styoniums. Oh my god. We have Hippopotamus, which is amphibious. Alright, so we have a lot of them. So thank you for joining today's class. In the next video, we shall just take a quick look at primates. Just a brief look at primates. Then we'll talk about the new system of classification. Till then, keep enjoying and don't fail to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you.